The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Sorry, we've had a few technical difficulties this morning. My name's Nick Furnell. I'm one of the senior systems engineers who look after Veeam service providers in the UK and Ireland. So today we're going to talk about Veeam-powered services. And it's a topic that I discuss with service providers in my region on a fairly regular basis. To ensure they all know the current options and services that they can be offering and how best to leverage the resources available to them. Today I'm joined by Alexander Lubsanku, and he'll be manning the Q&A in the background. So here's the agenda for today. We're going to talk about where you are now, the Veeam use cases, some setup and licensing, some support case best practice, and just finally some additional resources. So we're all on a journey, working in this wonderful world of resellers, MSPs, support services, every size, shape, and service that you can imagine. Sizing and scaling is beneficial for us all, just to be able to deliver good services to customers. So across EMEA, we see service providers expanding, merging, diversifying every day and every week. And not every region has dedicated service providers, engineers, and sales, but we all have one goal, just to support you on your journey. Businesses like yours often have target markets, whether that's SMB, SME, enterprise, public sector, and everything in between. All these potential areas for growth and expansion have specific technical requirements. There might be stipulations over where data can be held or stored, or where it cannot be stored. Whether you require particular certifications or frameworks in order to bid, and whether you offer compatible and complementary services. This is where delivering Veeam services is beneficial to you all. An existing customer base globally of 450,000 users, many of whom are looking at you for help and advice and professional services, or simply as a supplementary to what they already offer in-house. Every VCSP is different, so we need to understand your current capabilities, your roadmap for the future. You may have no service today, or you may have competing services or complementary. That's okay. We can all talk about what your journey is going to be. With Veeam, you have options to build your own or become a reseller, cloud resell of somebody else's service. So today I want to cover all these topics, hopefully sharing some knowledge and information, and hopefully everyone learns something at the end of the day. If you do need further advice after this webinar, please contact your local Veeam admins or salespeople, and I'm sure they'll be able to help. So with over 10,000 service providers around the world providing every type of service in every country, you'd think there'd be no room for any more, but you'd be wrong. The VCSP family is growing constantly, new providers joining the market. So we'd like to go back and revisit these services and call out the ones that maybe you're not using today, or maybe the ones you're looking at as part of a roadmap. So some of these will be familiar to you, some will be brand new. One of the biggest hurdles we seem to face is a number of acronyms that we have created around the Veeam ecosystem. Veeam Cloud Service Provider, VSPC for short, is just one of the many terms you'll hear during this presentation, and becoming a VCSP is easy. It unlocks for you the ability to use the full suite of Veeam products, but via a rental license key. Pay for what you use and what your customers use on a monthly basis. As you know, this rental key unlocks special end user license agreement, allowing you to process third-party data on behalf of them. Deployments can be single or multi-tenanted, and everything in between. Again, at this point, I'd like to mention the competency program. So the Veeam service provider now has two competency programs, one customer ready and one reseller ready. These competencies recognize partners that maintain the highest qualification for providing Veeam-powered service sold to their end customers. The Veeam validates your solution, and then these badges show the customers that you have skills and resources to offer the best in class of Veeam services. The Veeam reseller competencies can help you connect to Veeam resellers that are looking to resell cloud services via you, or you via them. Someone's offering a similar service in an alternative customer base, teaming up with them might be the way to go forward. This can all help you expand and unlock services which you may already be delivering or planning to deliver. So, given all these options available to you and the competencies that you can apply for, how can we build something that's deliverable to your customers? So Veeam have created 6 use cases. We'll cover these in the next couple of slides, and we'll use these to categorize our service providers so it's easy to discuss and compare services that you're offering. The use cases divided into 3 pillars: infrastructure protection, offsite backup and DR, public cloud protection. Underpinning all of these use cases is a connective service called universal services. Veeam's technology lends itself to ensure that these workloads can be easily migrated or ported from one platform to another. Additionally, Veeam's native integrations with storage, networking, cloud administration tools can help run efficient services stacks for yourselves. APIs serve as an important function as that connection for any homegrown portals that you may decide to build. So at this point, I'd like to move on to the whiteboard. Hopefully technology is with us today and we'll be able to walk through some of this on the whiteboard. So hopefully I can stop sharing that screen. And hopefully everyone can see the screen, even if I'm a little bit dark. So we talked about those 3 pillars, the infrastructure protection, offsite backup and DR, public cloud protection. I'm going to treat these in a slightly different order. And I'm going to highlight how each one can fit in. So I'm going to start with offsite backup and DR. This is typically when I talk to companies about an unmanaged service. And what I mean by that is that this lends itself to leveraging you offering services as a service provider, but your customers effectively managing themselves as they work through it. So if we look at a typical tenant, and they'll have some on-prem, got an on-prem VBR server. So they may be very quite happy using that service, but obviously they've been reading the news and maybe they've been looking at ransomware protection, the 32110 rule that Veeam have been talking about and publicizing. They may just want to have second copies. They may just be out of their depth with the technology. So they can reach out, and this is the beauty of this, I guess, the unmanaged view. So they can reach out to you. So you, as you build and deploy your Veeam Cloud Connect server, and then on top of that, you offer cloud repository. These customers can leverage the licenses that they already consume or they already own. Again, we're going to cover licenses in a few slides' time, and they can send those backups, those offsite backups to yourselves. If you want to offer the DR services, so the replication, so they have the ability to be able to DR into your platforms and power up those workloads in a second location if they should have a disaster or for a testing services, then you can then look at adding in the cloud hosts and also data stores that you can then expose to the customer. And the glue that glues a lot of this together is Veeam Service Provider Console. This then gives the customers an easy access to be able to monitor what's going on, and then the big benefits from the service provider is then to be able to use that for all the additional features that that you can offer. So we're plugging together at this scenario. We've got the Veeam backup replication, service provider console, the Cloud Connect console, and the cloud host and the data stores offering DR. We're solving lots of problems at this point for the tenant getting their data offsite and be able to allow them to either store their data offsite and then restore, or power it up on your data centers. And again, typically we would see this as a relatively first step for service providers to be offering. We move on to infrastructure we would tend to see this as a managed service. And again, there are lines that blur between each of these. And why I'm saying this is a managed service is this would be certainly more integration between you and your customers. We would look at delivering rental keys. You then become first line support. And on top of the infrastructure protection that you could add, one of the other features you could, or the other services would be a Veeam-1 monitoring. So the MSP effectively adds onto the layers that we've already built here, remotely managing the backup and recovery for the customers. Because we've been dominant in this market for such a long time, this is a really easy progression, and does allow you as a service provider to maintain your relationships with your customers and to start offering additional services. So underneath the infrastructure protection, we also talk about IaaS. And in an IaaS scenario, so where your protected workloads are running on your platform, we typically be adding other components to offer self-service for those customers. So inside there, we would have Enterprise Manager. We also have integration into VMware Cloud Director. And also self-service. So we do see that these are, I guess, more integrated services. Definitely in the, you would have more control and more interaction with your customers. It also allows you to give them a reason to ring up, speak to them, and then cross-sell into other platforms. There may be other services that you offer, whether that's software or hardware. And again, you can use these platforms, the offering of your infrastructure as a service, and certainly your managed services to be able to engage with your customers, and then to cross-sell, to land and expand, and to additionally create revenue. So when we look at public cloud protection, again, this is managed, but again, it's in and in cooperation, I guess, with a few parties. It could be with the public cloud providers. It's also in cooperation with the tenants that are running and decided to move their workloads into the public cloud. And what we see, or what we have developed in this platform, is effectively two main products. So we have into the software as a service. We broke into this market in 2017 with the backup for Microsoft 365. Obviously, there's still a huge number of customers that don't understand or don't know that platform is not protected. So we're working all the time to try and increase this ownership and intelligence around the fact that they do need to add backups. Again, more recently with the product, added the portal, so that allows self-service. And also we've added immutability. So they were in the last releases of M365, they've been added on. So again, these are helping the customers take back ownership to be able to, the shared responsibility that Microsoft and in fact all the public cloud providers have, where the customers are putting their data onto somebody else's platform, being able to offer backup and then be able to take that, take copies of that outside of that platform and independently granular recover. Is one of the real big selling points and one of the advantages of going this route. The other software as a service platform that we integrate with is Salesforce. So Veeam Backup Salesforce. Was released around a year ago. So again, that's offered more opportunities for you as a service provider to look and offer that out to your customers as maybe another potential method of selling and protecting their obviously their property that's running in that platform. The other side of public cloud protection is our integration with the public cloud providers themselves. So we have AWS, we have Azure, and Google Cloud. So again, those products have been out for some time, and there is integrations and features buried within each one that is specific for the platform that they are now working within. So in AWS, we can support virtual machines, we can support the RDS databases and the Elastic file system, and also the config. The virtual private cloud config, all those are integrated into the AWS product. From an Azure point of view, we obviously support the VMs. We have Azure SQL support, and again, Azure File. And for Google Cloud, we support virtual machines and the cloud SQL platform. So it may be that I've touched on areas and maybe you are delivering all of these as a service provider, but what I'd try to cover with these topics is just that the integration or the options that you have from a roadmap or from a service point of view as you're delivering. So all of these are underpinned by the same Veeam software and the same rental keys, which I'm going to touch on in a few minutes' time. But hopefully, by dividing them up into these 6 areas, we can look at each one and decide whether it's something that you are currently delivering or something that you would choose to deliver in the future. At that point, I'm going to move back to the slides and cover off some licensing topics. And actually, Veeam service provider console is fundamental to lots of what I've drew on that board as well. So that as a product, the service provider console is been built from the ground up to enable service providers to build a best-in-class backup and DR platform. Functionalities easy to use, flexible, and affordable. And after all, it's a free tool to all service providers. The core features of the console are really an all-in-one tool. So we look at remote monitoring and management. It's key. It provides the central location to manage and monitor all of your customers, the Veeam backup replication servers, as well as endpoints, workloads, workstations, and laptops. The ability to onboard customers is a big part of the capabilities, as well as the all-in-one billing platform to generate and submit itemized invoicing. On licensing and usage reporting, console gives you the ability to provision, reassign, and revoke product licenses, and also helps it easy for reporting. Multi-tenancy, this falls in line with what I mentioned earlier about remote monitoring and management of those tenants and customers. Highlights again the ability to keep control over what your customers are doing and your fleet of installations. And finally, we have the automation and APIs. A huge part of this product, and the service provider console has extended these beyond what was available with the normal VBR and the individual products. So using the best and most efficient license keys, the way to make the most benefit and the most margin from Veeam and rental licensing. So during the next few slides, I'd like to talk through the common configurations where license keys need to be placed and where they consume points. So on this screen, we'll see the three main combinations. We've got backup infrastructure monitoring. That's purely using the Veeam service provider console to monitor remote installations. This scenario is the same when monitoring VB365, for instance. Secondly, we have backup and disaster recovery, where the tenants have their own paid licenses. Again, they may be running Veeam universal licensing or perpetual licensing. And thirdly, the managed service provider environment, where the tenants are leveraging rental keys for on-premises workloads. In each of these scenarios, the license key that you need to install and the location of where that key gets installed are slightly different. So I want to walk through each of these scenarios, hopefully to clarify many of the questions that we hear. So during an initial build, you don't need to use live rental licenses. You can download a free Veeam service provider console license. This key can be used to unlock both the Cloud Connect server and the service provider console. This license can be found when you log into your Veeam Pulse portal. It should be available for all service providers and will auto-extend with your contract. If you can't find this key in your portal, then please raise a support ticket with the Pulse team and they'll be able to create it for you and add it into your Pulse portal. Once you're using Service Provider Console and Cloud Connect Server in a live environment to deliver Veeam-powered services, you're likely to need to create paid rental keys. So what type of key you cut and where they go is dependent on the service you are offering. Rental keys can be created directly in Pulse or in the Service Provider Console using the Pulse plugin, and that's the preferred method for all new VCSPs and will be advised for existing service providers to migrate to this method. These individual rental keys can be assigned to companies and going forward will be managed via the Service Provider Console plugin. As I mentioned, this free mode can be used to monitor various components, but you'll see as we move through this deck, with no tenants active, there's no paid licenses required. When we start adding tenants, there's various combinations we need to be aware of. Our first scenario is managed service provider. So this is where a service provider is offering the management and monitoring of services to a tenant company. Rental keys are really flexible and give you lots of advantages over subscription and full licensing. And in this instance, a rental key is created in Pulse and is pushed to the tenant VBR server. When using rental keys, you're obliged to take the tenant and any reseller's tenants first line support and triage them before escalating to Veeam. One of the major benefits is the ability to push keys out and manage them for those remote servers. More flexible licensing, you can get better pricing, you get remote visibility and monitoring of their platform, and integrated billing with the console. The tenant VBR server also needs to have the allow VBR management enabled, so that the workflow goes both ways and we can monitor and see what's happening at that tenant. This is a requirement when using rental keys at tenant locations. As a contrast to managing tenants, we can look at unmanaged customers, just as the ones that I mentioned on the board. These are ones that are running their own license keys, again, subscription or perpetual licensing. When backup jobs are sent to and ingested by the Cloud Connect platform, the Cloud Connect server must be licensed to accept these ingested backup data. This is also the same when tenant agents that maybe have their own license keys send backup data into the Cloud Connect server. They are licensed as servers or workstations. We see no consumption on the service provider console itself. The Cloud Connect server is the one that issues those licenses out and it's consumed. Those ingest backup jobs are consumed. There's a really useful feature of the Service Provider Console that allows remote licensing and management of ingest agents. This is where somebody maybe doesn't have or doesn't want a VBR server, or where those agents need to be installed on various different IaaS platforms. So this offers options to both the service provider and the tenant. The license type and location that are consumed in this process is in the Service Provider Console itself. So this is a slightly different installation. So in this scenario, the original free key that was in the console needs to be replaced by a rental key. So Veeam agents that are managed by the Service Provider Console consume their licenses directly from the console itself. Those license keys are pushed out and management is in a central location. And just as we can license VBR servers, we can also license cloud applications or cloud appliances rather. These can be deployed in the latest version of Service Provider Console direct and can be installed in the three main public cloud providers that we offer, so AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. With the release of Veeam Service Provider Console 7 earlier on this year, we were also able to push licenses out to and monitor the usage of VB365 installations and Veeam One installations. So this is integrating with other components that you may already have in your platform and pulling that usage back into one location. And finally, when ingesting replica images from a managed rental VBR server or an unmanaged VBR server, the Cloud Connect server must always be licensed. So replica images that are going to be sent to a cloud host and then stored on a data store for DR recovery later on is always the licensed product. Given the previous slides, you'd think that everything was covered, but Service Provider Console can create keys for the scenarios we've talked about, so Veeam Agents, BBR Standard Edition, Enterprise and Enterprise Plus Edition, for Veeam Backup for M365, for public cloud appliances, and to protect those databases, file shares and virtual machines. There are always some scenarios that just don't quite fit. And again, every service provider is different, so there may be other ones that you've used that you've not seen. So although we've put a lot of effort into centralizing much of this licensing, you'll see as this slide that some keys have to be created directly in Pulse or via an alternative method, like contacting your hosting manager. So self-managed in-guest agent keys, these are when you see in-guest agents installed, completely managed by a customer. These may be on-site and not connected to a managed platform. So in that case, you should be using the VUL or subscription keys. Veeam Recovery Orchestrator, previously known as Disaster Recovery Orchestrator, streamlines disaster recovery planning and execution for virtualized environments. These keys have to be cut directly from inside Veeam Pulse. This also applies to Veeam Management Pack, which again may not be a product you're familiar with, as that links into Microsoft System Center to monitor virtualized environments in vSphere and Microsoft Hyper-V. Veeam Enterprise Manager, obviously it may be something that you've used already, and that can allow control of various Veeam backup and replication deployments, as well as offering self-service administration and the management and view of infrastructure service environments. And in that instance, that license key can be created in the Service Provider Console or in Veeam Pulse. Custom by Veeam and Veeam Backup for Salesforce. Currently, if you need these keys, you have to reach out to your hosting manager. And finally, any special SKUs or pricing, again, reach out to your hosting manager to locate those keys. So in this last section, I'd like to introduce some best practice for raising support cases. These tips have been suggested by both service providers' feedback and also by the support team leadership and SEs and SAs who support you day to day. So submitting logs when opening tickets, logs are always needed, so be prepared, have them ready. Include a complete log file or a snippet with your error message. This can be really helpful to help diagnose some of the problems. If you're using rental keys, don't forget your T1 support. You should be the primary support contact, or that initial support contact. If your tenants or your resellers, customers encounter problems, further investigation often covers both tenant and provider side of the infrastructure. You still remain that main contact. Providing context for your support cases. It should be fairly obvious, but some background on how you got to this situation is really beneficial. Recent changes, upgrades, reg keys that have been added or removed. These also are essential to select the correct product and license information when you register your support case. So it must match the selection in the ticket. When to flag to your Veeam account manager and system engineer. If you have a P1 and you're down, then please always let your SEs and your hosting managers know that there's an issue. They may not be able to help fix it directly, but they can monitor the ticket and be in close contact and help you with your recovery. We can also act as an interface to that support team to understand what's going on. Fifth on this page is feedback, feedback, feedback. Tickets can often also close if you don't respond or if there's a delay in responding. So please close your tickets correctly or ask them to be closed, and also provide feedback on a successful solution. Learning from support tickets is crucial. Team leaders do review and modify this their behavior on a regular basis. So you can always follow up the support engineer and let them know what happened with the solution, whether it was successful, and whether the instructions that they gave was efficient, or whether there was a supplementary information you needed to do. Tip 6, have you followed the best practices? Is your platform up to date? And if not, why not? There's a reason. Is there a reason why you haven't done it? Have you got bespoke builds or requirements or other influences that forced a particular design or an old version to be maintained? Let support know right at the beginning of that support case. When to escalate? If an issue is high priority or you're getting a delayed response from support, please use the escalate to manager button. It just puts another set of eyes on that support ticket so we can understand what's happening. Are you certified? Many support cases would benefit if you have VMCE or VMCA certifications within your service providers. It might not be a requirement for your current status in Veeam, but it's really beneficial in helping solve some of those problems. We also recommend the VMTSP, so the technical salesperson, which is a free course available through ProPartner. Are you struggling to open or update support cases? Maybe consider using a generic email address for registering cases. And that way, if you cannot respond for some reason, through illness or just a delay, one of your colleagues may be able to pick up the thread and read the posts and carry on that support case on your behalf. And lastly on this page, is it a feature request or a support issue? Sometimes it's really hard to know, so be prepared. Clarify your questions to support, and if it turns out after diagnosis that this is a feature request, you may be asked to raise this in the Veeam forum or contact your hosting managers or SE or SA for assistance. And there's always an extra tip. So tip 11 is ensure you're always running the latest version of everything. Again, there's knowledge base articles pointing at the latest versions so you can check what you're running at any particular time. And just to follow up on those support case best practice, I mentioned about where you can go and get information, and these are the additional guidance that you can look out for. So ProPartner, absolutely, it's a comprehensive place, provides all the tools needed to become that trusted advisor and reseller to your customers, and to gain some of the knowledge, the white papers, and the tips and tricks. We also have Marketing Center in there, so you can help develop marketing collateral. In there, we also have a breakdown of the use cases that we drew on the board. There's always the official user guides, but there is also a Google custom search, so that's available. It searches all the Veeam documentation and the white papers and can help you locate, help you find the answer to some of your problems if you find it difficult just working your way through. And the best practice documentation. Again, there's something for everyone in here with the architect site, best practice for the core products, and also specifically for VCSPs, we have for Cloud Connect and the Service Provider Console. There's a QR code that can take you straight there. But again, the best practice guides are just summarized on this, as you can see on this page. So again, if you're looking for some information, whether it's the guidance on fixing an issue or you're new and looking at a new use case, please refer to this to help you build and design. I'd really want to end this session just talking about that Veeam is here to keep your business running and your customers' business running. The data security wrap round that we have now, we can help you recover from cyber attacks. The data recovery, we've been in this industry for 15 years now, and there are no two recovery scenarios alike. So again, there's lots of recovery options and scenarios that Veeam can help you with and help your customers with. And then finally on that, data freedom. We support you in whatever platform you are delivering this on and your customers, and we also help with migrations if you need to move or recover to a completely different platform. So at that point, I'd like to close the webinar and just see if there's any questions. Q&A.